We've had several questions sent in, not as many as I thought there would be, which is telling, about some recent comments the Young Bucks have made about you, both in print and apparently with their own mouths.
With their own mouths? They didn't use somebody else's mouths? They used their own mouths?
You never know with these two guys.
The audacity, the gall of them, the perspicacity even.
This first one was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Steve in Folkston, Georgia. You need to read this at the bottom to see the Bucks comment on Jim. And let me get this article. This is an article from Bleacher Report, who I believe Bleacher Report does the AEW pay-per-views. And there's a bunch of comments about their thoughts about various things.
I remember that, well, it wasn't, what was the title of that book I read? It was Under the Bleachers by Seymour Butts.
I hate to ask this. Is that an actual book?
Yeah, it was on the bestseller list. It replaced Golden Rivers by I.P. Freely.
Okay. Because I know there's a porn star named Seymour Butts. He used to have a TV show on Showtime with him and his family.
I was not aware. So does Seymour Butts really know best?
That was not the name of the show. I forget the name of it now off the top of my head. It was like him and his family, because he was like he had like his own porn studio, but I think like his mom worked for him, and like all the people I would think like, oh my God, why would you want these people to be involved with this?
What the fuck? That's no fun at all. That's just no fun. All right. Anyway, answer little Chauncey Pierpont's question here. Ask it.
Here's the Young Bucks, their thoughts on Jim Cornette's criticism.
Okay.
I'll read the article and then I'll get to the quote. Anytime somebody achieves success in any sport or part of the entertainment business, they are going to receive a lot of criticism, especially on social media, where everyone has a voice. The Young Bucks' most vocal critic has been Jim Cornette. The legendary manager has forgotten more about wrestling than most people will ever know. But when it comes to the Bucks,
I resent that comment. I have not forgotten that much.
But when it comes to the Bucks, he never seems to have anything nice to say. We asked Nick and Matt about Cornette's comments and if there is any personal animosity on their end. Here's a quote from Nick. As of now, I think he is just doing it for the attention. He has a podcast he is trying to sell. And right now, it's hot to talk about AEW. He'll bury anything AEW does to get listeners. That's the only reason why he acts like he hates us. It's all work.
Oh, good Lord.
It's all work. He's trying to work an angle that's never going to happen because we aren't going to hire him. We saw him once at a show, and the first thing he says to us was, "Hey, Bucks, we've got the hottest angle right now on the internet." We just kind of rolled our eyes. He's stuck in the past, and the poor guy won't grow up.
Okay, well, first of all, I've told that story before, but here's the thing, and I'll tell it again here in a second, but I'm just wondering, I still don't know. Remember, like when we said when they supposedly put those guys over Private Party, but they put them over in such a way that it was a complete fluke? And I said, are they really just stupid and they did it that way, trying to do it the right way, or did they know? And they're just doing one of those Hulk Hogan fake jobs. And I've had people say, oh, they're with it. They knew what they were doing. But at the same point, they say these things. I understand that they have to deflect what I'm saying by coming up with, well, he's just saying that to get attention. I was getting attention before AEW started, I was getting attention before the Young Bucks started. I was getting attention before the Young Bucks, as my mama Cornette used to say, were a gleam in their father's eye. And I think they have to say this, well, he's just mad because we won't hire him, or what kind of audition have I been doing for AEW? Where is the point where this works out to where this is a plea to get a job, Brian? I've said everything I could possibly think about these people, and they deserved every bit of it. How would this be me trying to get them to hire me? I have actually come out and said the English words that I'm repulsed by their product. They all disgust me. They should be ashamed of themselves, and I wouldn't want to coexist and breathe the same oxygen with any of them for the offensive joke wrestling product they have put out. Does that sound like somebody trying to get a job?
Well, the funny thing to me is that, it says he's trying to work an angle because we're never going to hire him, but their boss wanted to hire you. I mean, that's the funniest part about this whole thing. Their boss, the guy who signs their checks, the guy who made them executive vice presidents, wanted to hire you.
I didn't take his money because I knew he wouldn't listen to anything I said because he was up these fucking guys' ass. So I don't waste my fucking time. I don't take money for shit unless that shit that I give them is whoever is then used. If they're not going to use the shit, I will not take money for the shit. And I don't want to have anything to do with this shit. But here again, I'm wondering whether their sense of self-importance. We just talked about Sable and the Ultimate Warrior and the fucking other guy, or woman, China, believe in their own publicity. These two smarmy little fucks actually, I think they're as good as they think they are. They believe it. And because they've had this little small niche audience that they travel around like a Grateful Dead fucking show, pump them up for the past few years. So they think that everybody wants to work with them. And I've told the story and I'll tell it again. One of the Global Force wrestling shows that Jeff Jarrett was running about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know if it was Bowling Green, Kentucky or Jackson, Tennessee. But he had me come and be the wrestling legend to do the deal with the radio DJ and blah, blah, blah. And the Bucks were on one of the shows. And I walk in the locker room. It's in the minor league ballpark. And I'm there early, obviously, because I always am. But then the boys start trickling in. I've been outside talking to people that I know. I walk back in. And I see, and there's this exciting locker room of modern wrestling stars. About 12 guys either laying on the couches or sitting on the floor with their heads on their bags, every single one of them staring at their fucking phones. Not a goddamn word being exchanged by anybody. And I later found out, and I mentioned this just blew my mind, that one of the people in the room was texting with a guy on the other side of the fucking room. And I told this story several times where I mentioned, because in the old days, before you had all this bullshit so you could sit there and just noodle, you had to be entertaining. You were in the locker room with Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson and the Road Warriors and blah, blah, blah. You need to be entertaining. If you were going to speak and not be told to shut up, you better be able to tell a fucking story. What was everybody doing last night? Let's talk about some fucking spots. Let's talk about some wrestling stories. Who's still going to talk about some pussy? They're noodling on their phones. So it's a giant minor league baseball locker room. So as I'm walking through it, there's the Bucks, and I've already blistered them on the internet. I believe this was not long after they super kicked the 9-year-old kid for his birthday, and that made video around the world, and I explained how fucking fake and stupid that was. But since Jeff has invited me to be there, and I am the highest paid individual on the roster for the work that I'm going to be doing that night, I didn't want to be a complete prick. So as I walk through I see him sitting there on the couch. I said, "Hey, Bucks, so we got the only angle in wrestling if people believe," and walked on through to the other side. Being a smart ass, I didn't need to say because it's true. I figured they'd get the picture. And that's the last words that I've exchanged with them. If that's been, when was GWF's Global Force Wrestling's baseball stadium tour? Was that 2016?
It was.
That's the last,
ago.
Whatever it was. That's the last words I've exchanged with them since then, in person or via any electronic means. And they have been telling the story since then, and I'm begging to work an angle with them. Son, let me tell you something, both of you sons, I don't work with minor leaguers, and that's what you still are to me. So if I don't know how I can articulate my disgust of your existence any better, but if it makes you feel any better, no, I don't want your job. Doing just fine over here, not embarrassing myself every week on national television like you and the rest of the Tony Khan Amateur Hour. So fuck off.
And again, and this is Nick Buck, the younger Buck, not necessarily
the younger Buck,
not known as being the brightest of guys in real life. And you don't know how much of this is what he really believes and how much of it is something he's convinced himself, but...
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know whether they really believe it because they're so fucking far up their own asses and they love the smell of their own farts, or whether it's they're saying this as a defense mechanism because Well, that's the only reason that he says that bad stuff about us. He doesn't really mean us. He just wants attention, and he's mad that we won't give him a job.
Your boss wanted to hire him. And you know what? If Jim had said yes, you guys would have sucked it up and tried to make money with it, because it's all about money with those guys.
But it ain't with me, because I don't need to fucking aggravate.
But that's every time they ever say, oh, Jim just wants to work here. Jim had the chance. Jim is where he is by choice. Your boss wanted Jim on that team. It's one of those early phone calls. He wanted Jim on the team. Jim's doing a podcast instead. So,
because right now I'm doing this podcast from my house instead of a bad wrestling program with a bunch of Outlaw Mud Show talent from one of the most COVID-ridden states in the fucking union. So,
can you imagine if you went to work there? Let's just say you somehow decided to do it. You'd be losing your mind right now. Because how could you not say anything bad about how badly booked the shows are?
Well, no, if I had gone to work there, I would have lost my mind for about the first fucking 6 weeks, and then we wouldn't be talking about it right now. The legless guy in the Battle Royal would have been the finish of it. The idea of putting pockets on television would have been the finish of it. I would have had to have said, look, let's settle it right now. The guy with his hands in his pockets or me. The little midget fucking trailer park trash dwarf or me. The fucking legless people or me. And if it's me, then I can, as I mentioned to Bruce that time, I said, I'm fixing to re-up my lease on my house up here in Connecticut. Is it a fucking deal breaker that I don't go to the Middle East because I need to make arrangements for a moving truck to go back to Tennessee? He said, no, it's not a deal breaker. There are certain red lines that I do not cross.
And again, another important thing to point out is, because they're always making it sound like you want to work with them so badly, they're the guys who went out there, shirt after shirt, killing the business, spot monkey. I'm basically saying what Jim Cornette said about us, we're going to put it on shirts and try to make money with it. They've been trying to ride the Cornette train a lot more than you've been trying to ride theirs.
I titled their book.
Yeah.
Because they can't get over it. But here's the thing. It goes back to, and they still try to tell the story and make me a heel with, well, he screwed us around in Ring of Honor and wouldn't use us after we gave notice to come there. When he blah, blah, blah. I've told that story a million times because it's true. I knew that the Ring of Honor audience liked those guys. And Hunter Johnston set up a phone call. They were under contract to TNA. And this was when Sinclair had bought the company. I said, guys, I know you're popular with the audience. We're setting this up. We're trying to get the TV. We're going to be running house shows later on in the year. How long you got on your contracts? It was 6 months or some equivalent period of time close to that. Well, okay, well, we're interested when your guys' contracts are up. We're interested in fucking dealing with you. Keep track of it. Let us know. We can't talk to you right now anyway, right? One of those type of deals. But blah, 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 right? It was one of many phone calls that we were making to people, either that we could sign then or that we wanted to know that we were at least somewhat interested. Fucking 2 weeks later, they called, well, we gave our notice and quit. We can start any time. What? What the fuck? What part of we're interested in talking to you when your contracts are up did you not understand?
Well, let me jump in here.
Wait a minute. At the time, we had the Briscoe brothers, Mark and Jay Briscoe. We had, but we're losing, and I was broke up about that, Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli. We had Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. We had, although they were working as many singles as tags, we had the American Wolves, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. And for a kind of a team that you could work with as a utility team, because we're pushing all those other guys as main event teams, Kenny King and Rhett Titus. Where the fuck do these two fucking grade school kids fit in that? Originally, I said, okay, Hunter, these guys, little baby face, spot team, we can use them. But there was no main event thought that they were going to have long runs with the Ring of Honor World Tag Team title to begin with. And then they show up and now they're the fucking team who came to dinner. Well, now we feel bad. So we try to book them. But then Greg, the office boy, don't want to fly these two numbnuts from California. And I don't blame him. And because they had to come in on what Carrie Silkin was paying them the last time that they were there, $500 a piece. So all of a sudden, you've got $500, $1,000 payoff, plus 2 plane tickets from California. Figure that to be $700-800, plus a hotel room in these two, just to put them on a TV taping. Fucking hell. So we tried to book them when we could, but they didn't want us to, the Sinclair office, because it was too fucking expensive. They sure didn't want to take any less money. And I wasn't that fucking fond of them to begin with. Do you know they came to my fucking, wait a minute, hold on, what year was that? My 50th birthday party.
Really?
Because I was stuck. Ring of Honor had a show in New York on my birthday in 2011. And as a matter of fact, I think we got together on that trip while I was up there. But Carrie Silkin wanted to take me and Stacy to a great burger place in New York City. Okay. In the night before the show. And so we went, and he brought the Bucks with him because he always would bring, and a couple of the other boys. I can't remember who was there. God damn it. But he would always take some of the guys out and feed them dinner and take them around and show them New York City, whatever. I mean, I didn't have anything against them at the time. They hadn't super kicked any children on fucking video or had any phony matches with the Invisible Man yet that I was aware of. So I had nothing against them, but we're obviously different people. So they sat down at one end talking to somebody else, and me and Stacy and Carrie sat up at the other end, and we had burgers in New York. But these guys, they're just fucking full of themselves. And I'm sorry, just because this fucking small little niche audience that they have fostered for themselves thinks that this shit's funny in some kind of way, doesn't mean that I have to fucking kowtow to them or say, oh, well, I guess times have changed and shit tastes good now, to feed their fucking ego. Whatever they're doing, it's not wrestling, but whatever they're doing, they might be good at it. But I'm critiquing people on wrestling, and they ain't good at it.
All right, well, we also have a quote from Matt Buck.
Oh, there's more.
With Jim.
You wound me up on purpose.
I didn't know you were going to go this far.
Well, I'll be glad to go further. Tell me what Pieface had to say.
Because you stomped on a few of the follow-ups, but hold on. With Jim, it's a sensitive topic because as soon as you say something, he is going to create a thread about it, and it just gives him more content.
Create a thread? But what does that mean?
I guess doing what we're doing here.
Is this a thread?
Not in the traditional sense.
Okay.
But again, not the brightest guys. Matt and Nick Jackson. Brilliant manipulators, but not exactly Einstein. He's a shock jock. And he has to say things because it gives him listeners. People don't listen to his podcast to hear him say good things about people. They want to hear him rant because that's his gimmick. If he is making money doing it, then great. Good for him. It's hard to make money in the pro wrestling business. If there's an audience for him, then great.
Actually, I've not really had a lot of problem for the past 40 years in that one particular thing. Go ahead.
There's an audience that loves what we do too. If that's the way he wants to do it and that's the way he wants his legacy remembered, that's up to him. End quote.
Oh, well.
You shock jock. You shock jock.
I'm just a shock jock. They think I do this on purpose. We were talking about this here not long ago. Other people actually do this on purpose, and it doesn't work because people can tell because they're just doing shit. I've been doing the same thing since 15,000 people were listening to this podcast. I haven't changed any of my stories because they're all true. I don't need to alter them. And I haven't changed any of my opinions because I still believe in them. It's not like I was just saying this shit specifically to get people to listen to me, Brian. As you'll recall, I was just doing this for shits and giggles for quite a while until I changed my co-host and started making a little money with it. But I didn't do this on purpose, and this is not something you can do on purpose. Because we've said before, I think the reason why so many people have started listening to our shows is because this is the only place where they don't hear bullshit. where somebody is bullshitting, whether it be knocking somebody and you can tell they don't really mean it, they're just trying to be controversial, or whether they're just too fucking wrapped up in whether they want to get hired, have another run, get a job or whatever, so they won't say boo to a goose, much less anything detrimental about anybody, whether they deserve it or not. And then you've got the people that are just pretty goddamn non-entertaining, that try to keep people's attention for extended periods of time on the podcast. Every once in a while, we fall into that category, but most of the time, we're saying something worthwhile. But we're not manufacturing anything here. It's just they can't take it because I have an opinion, and I think their wrestling sucks, and I don't need them. That's what they're just fucking, their brains explode about. Am I the only person that used to be in the wrestling business that does not give a fuck whether I ever do it again because I'm embarrassed at the state of it? And that I'm not waiting by the phone to ring for people, oh, we want to bring you in. I still get messages from that used to be a term in the business. We want to bring you in, like in the territory days. Want to bring you into Memphis. Want to bring you into Mid-South. Want to bring you into wherever, right? And so these fucking local yokel goddamn outlaw promoters these days that run their hometown on their birthdays have heard that terminology from the legends that they brought in. Want to bring you in. And so I get messages on my phone from people that I have never heard of before that say, hey, Jim, I'm doing such and such and so, and we want to bring you in. I do not want to be brought. I had already decided that I was not doing anything live this year before COVID. COVID just unfortunately knocked me out of a few restaurant visits this year, but I wasn't going on the road to begin with.
Are you saying that you didn't secretly dream of managing a team against the Young Bucks, similar to, Tully Blanchard's been a manager against the Young Bucks, and then eventually taking the super kick, maybe having them do a high spot or two against you? At 60 years old, you didn't dream of this?
No, well, if I did, I would wake up and immediately take an antacid. At one point with FTR, and we've talked about this too, with FTR, I say, you know what? Those guys, they get it. They're so good. I could manage them somewhere a time or two, or for some specific big event or item somewhere, not on an ongoing basis. That was open until I saw what was the show that had the legless boy in the Battle Royal. As soon as I saw that Battle Royal, I said, well, I think that'll never happen in this company. And, it was not to work against the Bucks. It was I'd probably like, and if we do ever go back to live events again, and I do ever go back to a live event again, maybe at WrestleCade. They have a big budget, nice crowds. Maybe sometime I'll manage FTR, but it wasn't in no way, shape, or form to work with the Bucks, but rather to, if I could, help FTR. But good God Almighty, I've been pile driven by Jerry Lawler, figure four'd by Ric Flair, bionic elbowed by Dusty Rhodes, tombstoned by The Undertaker. I have wrestled superstar Billy Graham. The fucking a crowning achievement of my career to work with the Young Bucks. Fuck you. Give me a break.
And you still have more hair on your head than Nick Jackson.
I still do.
Well, one other quote from this interview, because I thought you'd get a kick out of it. Apparently, Matt Jackson, the one who looks like Marty Gorman, while describing AEW, says he likes to describe it as Cirque du Soleil on steroids.
Well, okay, now we found some common ground.
I thought so.
I will agree with that statement. That's perfect. It's just, it shows the mental disconnect with where they are versus where I am, that they would think that that's a positive thing to say. It's something I could have said, and they'd get mad about it. But actually, you know what? Besides Brian Cage, point me to the fucking Cirque du Soleil member they've got that's on the steroids. Because they ain't working. They ain't getting the good shit. Because I've got goddamn fucking knots on my ass bigger than some of their biceps.
And once again, obviously, they have their YouTube show where they like to do their comedy. There's a reason why Republican comedy shows have never really worked out well. But again, if you guys want to do a really funny skit, sit your biggest fans down and explain your views on abortion and Black Lives Matter and Barack Obama. Just sit your biggest fans down and talk to them about what you guys believe. Yes, they should.
Yeah, they should go in depth on all that stuff that they secretly hold from people because they're lunatics.
Well, Jim, they may be lunatics. They may look ridiculous acting like little tough guys, but they are executives, executive vice presidents because, well, Triple H is going to do it. I guess we want to do it too. But maybe they need to start dressing like executives, and they're from Southern California. I could understand not feeling comfortable wearing a suit. If only there was a clothing company that made professional shirts that were as comfortable as a t-shirt.
Well, I'll tell you what, there sure is. And we've talked about them before. We'd like to welcome them back to the program, the folks at Buttercloth. Because, yeah, that's the thing with the Young Bucks. They are the guys from California, Southern California, so they want to be kind of hip and stylish and maybe casual at the same time. Well, instead of just wearing crappy old T-shirts or pink Minnie Mouse shirts like your friend Miro, the folks at Buttercloth make professional-looking, button-down, collared shirts that are as comfortable as your favorite T-shirt and as warm and soft as a puppy's belly. And not only that, Brian, but I'll have you know, I have another email here from another cult member. Enrique wrote this to me just 1 month ago, and I've actually just seen it here recently. Hello, Jim. After listening to the Experience episode 351, I placed an order for a Buttercloth Henley shirt. I tried every promo code mentioned on the podcast and even entered buttercloth.com/JCE. No discount was applied. I emailed Buttercloth. Within 12 minutes, they replied. They were prompt to troubleshoot the issue. They gave old Enrique a personal promo code. He was able to place his order. And he says, feel free to mention this on the podcast to let the cult know that Buttercloth has excellent customer service and they're very pleasant to do business with. Best wishes from Kansas City and love the shirt. Folks, whether you're husky, whether you're tall, whether you're portly, whether you're short, they've got something that can fit anybody. And as they say, you'll look like a Friday night but feel like a Sunday morning. They're not stiff and scratchy. They're soft. It's a revolutionary new fabric, 100% long fiber cotton. It has a 6-way stretch that's breathable. It keeps you warm in the winter, cool in the summer. And you can go to their website and you search through they have something to fit everybody. They'll ask you a few questions about what your shape you're in. But anyway, whether you can't go to the mall these days, even in the states that's permitted, it's not a thing that you should do for your health. You can order this online. It's a beautiful gift box because they have a special gifting program. And during the gifting program time, they can ship to multiple addresses in one order and put personalized notes in for each. So it's a one-stop shopping deal. Anyway, for a limited time, folks, Buttercloth offering our listeners up to 50% off your first purchase. They've gone crazy. How do they stay in business? I don't know. Go to buttercloth.com. That's butter. You know how to spell that. You better spell butter. Cloth. CLOTH.com/JCE. The discount will be applied at checkout. Buttercloth.com/JCE to get up to 50% off of your purchase. And as we know also, if for some reason that doesn't work, they got excellent customer service. Just make yourself look slicker than come on a gold tooth with a Buttercloth shirt this holiday season.